Can you believe it? It's 20 days to Christmas.
I cannot believe it's 20 days to Christmas. I also can't believe that in San Antonio today it's supposed to be 72 degrees and we're 20 days from Christmas. So
Yeah, it's
we'll
chilly
take
right
it while we
now.
can.
It's chilly right now. Yeah, I just came
Yeah.
back, dropped my kid off, and I warm up my car every morning before I go inside. And then, yeah, we live in four seasons in one day. It's exciting.
Yes.
I cannot get used to this for
Yeah.
it's just, I can't. But yeah, so exciting. Today we're going to talk about operational agility, lean
Yes.
operations, maximizing efficiency for growth. I think this is the most important aspect of startups and any small businesses, those that are scaling, and fast and
hmm
efficient ways to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I always come at it from the commercial side of things, but once you make that sale operationally, it's got to run efficiently in order for performance to grow. So, I'm excited to talk this way today.
Yeah, I think I'm also excited because we have all these clients lined up in the next 12, 16 weeks. And I think this is the one methodology we're going to be following. We do use project management software tools, just like any consultants will do. So we follow to the T, to the timelines. I think it's important to bring that up. So lean operations all about maximizing efficiency and minimizing waste. It's a philosophy adopted by the industry leaders worldwide at this point. I think it's very known, especially in manufacturing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just looking at it from a process improvement perspective, I think there's so many optimizations and in this module that could be translated also into the commercial performance team. I talk a lot about process and having, standardized processes in place. So being able to do that across the board, I think is really important. So why don't you kick us off? Tell us a little bit more about lean operations.
Yeah, so I think why don't we start with a prime example of Toyota so we can talk about it a little bit and kind of ease into other aspects, right? How they revolutionize manufacturing through lean principles, achieving incredible efficiency gains, right? And we have Toyota plant here in San Antonio.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk about an industry that has sort of built itself on efficiency, operational efficiencies from just the launch of the Model T back, in the early 1900s. That's the whole process, building these plants and things like that. So tell us a little bit more about what Toyota did in their playbook.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody knows, but the Japanese automotive manufacturer, they didn't just adopt the lean principles, they actually pioneered them. Basically, this approach, also known as the Toyota production system. It was the answer to the need of efficient manufacturing process in the post-war era, especially the most important aspect. And I think it's really relevant right now, post-pandemic, right? Moving into new changes, adapting to these changes. So the core of Toyota's lean approach is Kaizen. I love Kaizen. It's a philosophy of continuous improvement. As a certified continuous improvement manager, I think this is, I live by it and I preach it. And so I think it's very important to adapt this within your business. So by consistently seeking ways to reduce waste and improve processes along the way, Toyota transformed not only their production lines, but also set a new standard for manufacturing efficiency worldwide for all the other manufacturing productions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can talk enough about continuous improvement and how this performance works. I mean, across the board, I talk a lot in the sales spectrum of
Mhm.
how do you focus in as a leader or as a company owner when you're working with a sales team, or even if it's just that's your role, how are you continuing to focus your energy on not just counseling when things are going wrong, but coaching, right? Getting somebody to
Mhm.
tell you what they felt like they did really good in the interaction, what they felt like they could work on, and how we are always continuing to strive for that next goal. And I think we both approach that with the clients that we work with and making sure that they are focusing in on, yeah, this is great. And we did this and we got that. But how do we do it better? And how do we get more efficient in doing it so that our revenue performance is better, but we also continue to get more clients at the end of the day? So,
Yeah, I think another great and famous thing, a system that Toyota uses is a Kanban, and I love it. I think it's the most easiest thing to adapt and use, and we use it a lot. Trello is very famous for their Kanban, as opposed to like Monday.com uses different methodologies, and you can adapt and you can use whichever. So I think it's inspiring that the principles of lean operations, as demonstrated by Toyota and other manufacturing companies, was applied across various industries. And at the end of the day, it's all about mindset of continuous improvement, right? Efficiency, respect for people, keep moving, keep
Yeah.
keep going on, and keep scaling.
Yeah, and I think we talk a lot about continuous improvement and lean in the space of manufacturing or product itself, but I think it can also be applied when it comes to team members and
Hmm.
succession planning. How are you focusing your energy as a leader on continuing to improve your teams so that invariably when people leave or people get promoted that there is this sort of, I guess, sort of feeder of these next people coming into these different roles within your organization. That creates an efficiency unto itself because now you've got people coming in who are very hyper aware of what they should be doing and are prepared. Because the worst thing that we can do is put people into place that aren't prepared for the roles that we put them in. That's not an agile situation. So,
Exactly. And then thinking about all the tools that we use in our
mhm.
business, and not every person is able to adapt to new technology or even tech savvy, right? So you have to figure out how to use new tools, but also how to train them on these tools efficiently,
Yeah.
perhaps using agile methodologies, so that it's quick and fast, but it's also efficient and effective approach.
Yeah, absolutely. We all learn at different paces.
Mm,
I don't know, Lena, if I will ever truly learn SEO in that space,
right.
but I know that you are trying to get me into, that learning curve. But it's true. I mean, there is a way of doing things from an agile or efficient method, but if that's not going to work for certain spaces, sometimes you do have to pivot or have an inflection point with what you're doing. It's the same thing
Hmm.
on the product line, right? If you're rolling out a product and it feels efficient and it feels like, you're hitting all the metrics and targets, and then you have a sticking point in either the manufacturing or in supply chain, that type of things, you have to have an inflection
Hmm.
point in that, and you need to be prepared for those too. And to me, that's efficient and agile in your planning and in your processes, as well as not only how do we streamline operations, but what are the things that could go wrong? What
Hmm.
are those inflection points where we need to pull the trigger, and then how do we shift again and do something?
Yeah, and another thing that I just thought about, we live in a world of AI, right? New technology, so everything is evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about from a CRM system to automation tools, right? Any
Yeah.
automation tools, the right technology can be a game changer in boosting operations productivity and efficiency in a business.
Yeah. And I think that is so important. I will share, I worked with a client early on in my consulting career, and they had a CRM system for the sales team that they worked in and out of consistently and put things in. But once things transitioned onto the operational side, operations ran on a whole different system, and
Hmm.
neither of them integrated with each other. So, from a sales perspective, here they are implementing and building databases and putting in, client information, and once they get to a certain point, they have to go and rebuild it on the operational side. So now operations has that information and can take that project through to completion for that client. And the inefficiency there of not having systems that talk to each other, not having that technology that talks to each other, is so frustrating because it does disrupt, and you get not only inefficiency, but you get people who just discount and stop using systems completely, and then you start to lose your data and your analysis
Hmm.
capabilities. So I mean, I think that that's just, it's an
Yeah,
unfortunate situation.
thinking about it, teams, departments, the one thing that always stands out is how sales and marketing don't speak to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is, I think, the biggest problem a lot of organizations having, and I think adding those tools to your organization can impact efficiency. I think I'm also a true believer in cross training, right? Have maybe in a day of marketing, then the day of sales, something of the sort where they understand what these hurdles are. Not everyone were meant to sell, right? Sales is not my thing, although we do it every day, right? It's not my thing, but you passionate about versus, right? I feel the same maybe way about marketing. So I think these are very different aspects where I'm not expecting you to sit down and build a website and put analytics together and create this SEO optimized website where it could go to the next thing versus the same thing where you don't expect me to go and do this sales process a specific way, or not in a specific way, but more of a reaching out to these clients and selling in the way you would sell, because we all have our comfort level, but I think understanding what entails in that role is crucial for a business.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned AI, and I don't want to gloss over that because it's not going away. It's just getting bigger. And the efficiencies that it can offer into a company or organization, not taking roles away because, data and computer information is only as good as, one, what you're feeding it, and two, how it's being utilized internally and externally. But that ability to have a more authentic approach with AI and utilize it to sort of streamline. I liken AI nowadays when it comes to customer service as that first line of defense in customer service. We're so used to the chatbots anyway, which is early AI. When you're ordering things, or the little bubble that pops up, can I help you, do you need any help, that type of thing. And so having something that's more authentic and that's trained to your company culture, that type of thing, and being able to be a much more authentic self, and releasing some of your team to do other actions versus spending that money or that time in there is really important, I think. I mean, talk about being efficient with time, money, and resources.
Automation, yeah, exactly. I think that's huge right now. I'm, as also an AI consultant, going into all this new technology, every day I see something new, right? Way in the beginning, when I used to do these AI workshops, January, February, right? ChatGPT just celebrated their first year, but way in the beginning, when all these amazing tools started coming out because of OpenAI, and to now, we went from just having 600 in March to over 10,000 available apps. It's just mind blowing. So use the technology if you can to automate anything and to create that efficiency. So I think we have this amazing interactive takeaway that we created. So to put in a practice, develop like a quick scan tool to help you identify inefficiencies in your operations. It should guide you through simple but effective analysis in your current operation. So I think eventually we have a new website launching very, very soon. And then all the things that we've been talking about, all the way from sales to marketing tools to now efficiency, we're going to be creating these tools and adding them to our website. So people can have this tool easily available if need to. So I think the first thing, and I love certain tools like mind mapping, Lucy charts, is your process mapping, right? First, you'll map out your current operational process. I also love working with the star, right? Where you are today, where do you want to be tomorrow? And how do you get from here to there, right? And basically, it involves outlining each step in your key business's processes, from all the way from order intake to delivery, or depending what your business is all about. And it's crucial to have a clear visual representation of what your business operations looks like end to end, right? From here to there. And so you just list things out, whichever way is comfortable. You could just write them down. You can put a bubbles, and then you go into the next process, which would be identifying the bottlenecks and wastes, right? What takes too long? What can you outsource? What can you delegate? And then basically from there, once you mapped out all these processes, the next would be let's figure out what creates delays. What are some unnecessary steps? Look for areas where tasks pile up. That's another big one. I use Motion. It's kind of like a project management software. I use Monday.com, Trello, and Motion. I use all three of them. But Motion uses AI. So what it does is just once I create a task, it automatically adds it to my calendar to an empty spot, so what I like. But from here, I kind of can see what am I doing? Like this, I live on within my calendar. I need to know exactly what goes on every hour. So this helps me a whole lot to be efficient in my day and not waste time on certain things, because working from home has its perks, but also it's not great when you get distracted. Once you walk away from this desk, I don't know, it may take me an hour and a half to come back to this. So this step is about basically pinpointing the inefficiencies that are slowing down you in a business, costing you extra resources. That's another big thing. So the next thing is evaluate and prioritize, right? Now you're going to evaluate these inefficiencies based on their importance. What's important, what's not important, what can wait, what is delayed, and what are the reasons? And then which bottlenecks are effective customer satisfaction, which wastes are more costly. And then you start prioritizing which issues to tackle first, one at a time. And this applies to any business, right? Think about all the things that go day to day, maybe in each department, maybe individual, a business, each role in a company. And it's a long process, but it's a really good process, right? And then from there, you start implementing these lean principles. So you're going to use lean principles to address the inefficiencies. And it could mean things like reorganizing workflows, simplifying steps, automating certain tasks, or retraining staff. We just talked about it. So the key here is to focus on creating more on value and less work. And I'm not talking about the work-life balance where you have to work 20 hours a week.
Well, and I mean, even we talk a lot about this and we focus a lot on this from an operational standpoint, but when we look at this on the sales side of things, all of these things are super applicable. So when I'm working with clients, some of the things that I get them to start to look at is RACI modeling. And for those not familiar with that, right, it's basically a modeling chart where you're listing out anything and everything that needs to get done, every task or every action that needs to get done, who's responsible, who's accountable, so who's ultimately probably working on the project or on the task, right? Who is needs to be consulted? So are there other departments that you need to talk to in order to get something done? And then who needs to be informed, right? Is that somebody in leadership, or is that an outside resource? So if you're outsourcing something, do they need to be informed of something that you're doing, or vice versa? Do you need to be informed because that outside resource is part of your RACI model? So taking that through, and then looking at sort of becoming lean and agile when we do strategic planning and we do especially revenue planning, right? Goals and actions. I always talk about the fact that you should rank your goals and actions once you've created them. Are they high, medium, or low performing, right? It doesn't mean that a low or lower performing task isn't something you're going to do. It's just not maybe the highest priority, right? We want to hit those high priority ones that are high value, high return for the company or organization based upon what you put together from your plan. And then also looking at it from, is it a short-term, medium-term, or long-term goal or action, so that you are sort of spacing things out. Going back to calendars, we've talked about this so much. There's only so much you can get accomplished in this teeny tiny window of time. So to your point, let's get really efficient about how we plan things out so that we are accomplishing everything that we need to do, right? So you're starting to take these actions and these processes that people so focus on from an operational standpoint and pull those through into all parts of your company or your organization so that everybody's working the most efficient way possible. And that's going to really get you the biggest bang for your buck.
Yeah, being that we specialize in operations, right, and sustainability and structures, I had a client, I believe it was in 2017-ish. It's a amazing IVF clinic, and they had a lot of international patients. And because of how big they were 3 floors, Midtown Manhattan, seeing maybe 100 to 200 patients a day. They had a high turnover rate and a lot of missed calls in their call. through call center. So what I had to do is physically go there and spend a whole week with them and kind of see what is going on and what is the process. And so we were able to pinpoint what are the problems, right?
Yep.
And how do we fix those problems? And Kaizen is an amazing tool where this is where these things come true to life, where you kind of see with your own eyes and then you put in paper and say, this is the problem. This is where it starts, right? Because, a week we were lining up and mapping all these processes until the point we figured out, okay, this was the problem. So yeah, I think it's important to, another important aspect out of this is to, once you implement these lean principles, the next and last step is continuous improvement, right? It's about continually improving upon these processes, right? After making changes, monitor and their effects, and ready to adjust when needed.
Yep.
A tool isn't just one-time use. It's, again, continuous improving, keep going, keep doing. So yeah, I think that's my biggest example that I usually go back to is that big call center. And I mean, it wasn't that big. It's just they had over thinking about 6,000 calls a month, and there was only 8 girls working at the call center. So within the clinic, right? It wasn't outsourced. And they had a big screen TV that told them what call is coming in, right? The call ID, how many calls were missed, and they were still missing. It's like there's still this big red line of missed calls. So yeah, things happen. You just have to learn how to figure it out and adjust and improve upon it.
Yeah, I mean, continuous improvement is the backbone of a company or organization because your consumer dynamic shift, right? We can see that if you look at COVID, right, and you look at that time frame in COVID. I go back to the hospitality, to the hotel space there, where I spent so much of my career. Going into COVID, really the dynamic was corporate travel and groups and meetings and events, and those were the heart, heart of a hotel in performance. Yes, leisure travel was incredibly important, but through COVID, right, everything locked down. There was no more corporate travel, and groups and meetings and events was, verboten. You could not do those because of the risk of super spreader events, right? So leisure sort of picked back up and became this pivot point of, okay, how do we reshift? That's our consumer right now and will be for the foreseeable future until businesses get back out and travel, until groups get, back into that space. So how do we reshift not only our marketing, but operationally what we're doing? Because those consumers are staying, those are one-time stays or limited. They're not, repeatable business that's continuously coming in. So how do we repivot for that? So, yeah, absolutely. The consumer there changed. It doesn't mean that your original consumer is not going to come back. It just meant that you need to make some type of efficiency in doing that. On the other side, from an operational side, it was, all right, well, we don't want to be in and out of the guest rooms consistently from a housekeeping standpoint, right? Because there was so much concern over touch and all of that kind of stuff in the rooms. So do we pivot and say we're gonna limit housekeeping, or how are we going to restructure that where the consumer, the guest, is still satisfied with that aspect of their stay, but we are protecting the safety and of them and our team members in that role? And then what does that look like when COVID relaxes, and will consumer sentiment shift back to, now I want my room cleaned every day? Or will it stay with, hey, I'm cool with it just being a couple days a week on a week stay, or me just asking for it when I want to? So there is all of that, that pivot points or inflection points where you do have to always continuously look at, what does that improvement look like? How do we reshift our product or service to get to the consumer the right way?
Yeah, there's a lot of great takeaways, right? And it's, at the end of the day, it's all about you and your business, your vision, where you're planning to go. We use lean methodology a lot in exit planning, in scaling, right? Even market research, when a client is looking to expand to a new market or open a new brick and mortar somewhere within the location vicinity. So I think this applies to many different ways in your business. So yeah, that's I could talk about lean operations on and on and on and give thousands of examples where, where it worked very well. But I think it's important for each business to kind of just try it out and see what works, what doesn't, um, you know, where can you remove waste and create efficiency?
Yeah. And I think people don't realize how much of this that they're doing behind the scenes without
Mm-hmm.
thinking or calling it lean operations or that type. Um, because so many people are hyper focused in this space. Business owners absolutely are hyper focused on this space. Whether you're a solopreneur all the way up to a Fortune 100 company, you're focused on this because it's bottom line. I mean, it affects your overall company performance. So I think having that mindset of we need to approach it, we need to have conversations around this. This needs to be an integral part of our executive meetings or the way that we build our companies and organizations out there. If you are in a startup space, lean operations should be huge and
Yeah.
a key focus for what you're doing, because if you set it up right from the beginning and you're always focused on that, then it'll be something that carries through in your business culture going into the future. So
Yeah, Lean Startup book came out for a reason, and it was a hot topic then, and it's a hot topic now. So I highly recommend that book. Yeah, so let's see if we
nice.
have any questions, if anything is brewing. I don't see anything. I don't see anything yet. So I think what I'm going to do is introduce next week's topic. I think that's going to be exciting. We're going
Can't
into
fail.
week 4. So the topic is brand amplification, right? Brand as a beacon,
Oh,
illuminate your market presence.
I love brand talk. I love, love,
Yeah.
love brand talk. Um, I had the opportunity to be a strong part of the launch of several different hotel brands in my career. So talking about that and that, the not only how do you create a brand or craft, what does that story look like? I'm very excited to talk about that next
Yeah,
week.
I don't have a case study yet, so I'm gonna think about what exciting happened within the last 2 years that I know a lot of people would know about, and just talk about that. Or maybe something older, like Chanel. I love Chanel or Cartier. I love their stories. So yeah, we're gonna figure out something to talk about. So tune in next Tuesday, 9 a.m. And again, all of everything is streamed, lives on LinkedIn Live and YouTube Live. So if you miss anything, you're able to go back and rewatch it.
Absolutely. We have some great past episodes. So if you haven't seen them yet, this is your first one interacting. Absolutely go back and check out some of our conversations we've had in the past.
Yeah. And with that, have an amazing week, and we out.
Yeah.